Brunch Culture.
We want to talk about faith. We want to talk about politics. We want to talk about race. We want to talk about pop culture. Literally, everything is up for discussion, and that's what Brunch Culture is about.
It's about a thing. Feel real good. Wave your hands in the air and lick 2 shots in the air.
Brunch Culture. Brunch Culture. Brunch Culture. Brunch Culture.
She's Lisa V.
And he's Randall Keith.
And this is another episode of Brunch Culture, the weekly podcast where everything, and we mean everything, is up for discussion.
Even this new song with Nicki and Tasha.
Break every chain. Oh, no, that's not the song. What's the
It's,
song? Gosh.
I'm getting ready for Overflow.
Yeah. Something I've never seen.
Tomorrow, actually.
Huh?
When she said, my friend was like, well, you know, they're saying I'm getting ready for something I never seen. I said, yeah, tomorrow. Because tomorrow we never seen that.
Tomorrow's, that's it.
It caused a big
The next
social
minute, the next hour, we've never seen that.
I've never seen. I don't know what's going to happen. It's like I am getting ready for something I've never seen, technically.
See? So Tasha Cobbs know what she's talking about, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It caused a big uproar on social media because, you know, the Tasha and Nicki Minaj, and, you know, it doesn't seem to go together as a, you know, the whole secular and sacred kind of divide.
Right.
And I didn't really care about Nicki on Tasha Cobb's song. Mm-hmm. I did care about the content of Tasha Cobb's music, period. So I don't mind if Nicki's on it. I could care less because I'm a huge fan of Karen Clark Sheard, and Missy Elliott some years back was on her CD, actually produced most of her album, and it was really, really good. So I don't really have a problem with it. My issue is Tasha Cobb's lyrics for her past 2 albums, to me, have been a pseudo prophetic kind of thing. Right. And I'm not really into giving people promises that God might not fulfill. And so I just think that sets them up for failure. And so that would be my issue. My issue is not with Nicki being on the album. My issue is with Tasha Cobb's lyrics, just in general over the past 2 albums, to me. And some songs have been problematic because I'm like, that's really not consistent with the Bible. But hey,
it's like you feel like she kind of like setting folks up for failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
know, making promises about the struggle is over, and it's kind of like, no, that's not really.
It's interesting, so because before you said that, I hadn't really thought about it from that way. I guess I always look at like what Tasha Cobbs does is like she makes worship songs, and so I feel like she's making this song kind of strategically for like choirs to be able to just kind of sing in certain moments. And I just feel like people get into them a lot, and maybe it is kind of like a prosperity song, if you will. Is that a thing?
Yeah,
like a prosperity genre of genre of music. I don't know if that's not a thing, but I get where you're coming from. And when you said it, I was like, oh, yo, that kind of, I can see that. I definitely can see that. To me, just personally, sometimes I feel like certain gospel artists can tend to just redo the same thing over and over and over again, and you just say it a different way. So it's like, how many times can God save me or Jesus save me? And you're saying it just the same way, and the lyrics are very simple. And I feel like as artists, and even, you know, Christians or people that like believers, we're creative. We're just as creative as somebody that performs secular music. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you can give me some poetry. You can give me some metaphors. You can give me some really good lyrics that make me feel what you're talking about and still pushes and drives home the same message. And I feel like sometimes people, some gospel artists that create like worship music, they'll make it so simple. Like, you know, and I don't mean to pick on, like, I'm not trying to pick on Tasha Cobbs, just because we're there. Break Every Chain, I thought was great. But I feel like if you start to listen to other cuts and they all sound the same, we have like this one catchphrase and we're just saying it over and over and over again. It's kind of like, all right, you know, I've kind of had enough of this. Like, let's, you know, we can worship still, but we can worship with just a little more heartfelt lyrics. And it reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the songs that they sing on Greenleaf. That's what it makes me feel like. Like, and I'll be like, dang, I feel like it could be something, but y'all just keep making these lyrics, and they be like, oh, the girl Charity, like, oh, she's writing these bomb songs, and I'm like, I don't really know if this is really bomb, because you're not really saying nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's just like real simple. I feel like we can do a little bit better at that.
Yeah. The preaching, and this not to get off the fact, but the preaching and the music on Greenleaf is just like, what? Like everything, they seem to work hard on everything except that.
Yeah. And it probably wouldn't be as bad too if they didn't make it seem like on the show, this is like the greatest thing ever. Like, ooh, pastor, you preached a great sermon. And then the part we saw was like, and stand up for Jesus. No, it's not. That's not. No, God, that wasn't it. Like, even if what you said before was so profound, the energy that you're giving me now, the way that you're telling me this sounds like you were bored. The congregation was bored. Like, it's not there. Especially
when Jacob was standing in front of that empty field, and it was like, it's going viral. I'm like, how?
Poor Jacob in this. This ministry of Jacob's, it's like, cause I see where he's going. I'm like, yo, this young man really is trying to, like, he trying not to be about all of this stuff that he's seen all these other people about. But just because you put a video on YouTube, or what do they call it? WatchTube or something like that? It's something.
I don't know.
Something like
it's like a GoFundMe.
Yeah, it's some Smojo name. It was just like, yeah, I don't really know if this was really that. Yeah, nah.
Some parts it's like they put a lot of thought into, and some parts it's like they just was like, let's just do it. And I think those are the parts.
Right. But yeah. But yeah, so Tasha Cobbs and Nicki Minaj, actually, so I listened to the song, and when I heard that it was coming, I think I saw somebody tweeted about it. Or posted on Instagram, and then I went to Twitter and saw that it was like official, and I think Nicki Minaj ended up saying like, I'm so ready for this song for everybody to hear, yada yada yada. And listening to the song, I felt like I was a bit, I definitely know that it's one of those things that's like, it's a buzz song, so it's gonna get people talking, and I thought it was just gonna be that. I was pleasantly surprised to see that Nicki Minaj, it wasn't all just about, look what I got, so God is blessing me. And one thing that I think was kind of a good thing in the sense of, so the song itself says, I'm getting ready for something I've never seen, right? And it's like the setup of this, we've never seen this done in this way. Like somebody that is a huge mainstream artist, rap artist now, to tie up with like a really popular gospel artist, and them kind of create a song in that way, and these people are connected to young people. I thought it was just, to me, it was like, I see what y'all doing, and I actually think it's good, and I think that this can, people that may not listen to gospel music, or may not naturally just go to listen to something other than quote unquote worldly or secular music. To me, it was like, okay, I can see this introduction. Like, I don't think that this is a problem at all. And I think if handled and managed the proper way, just from the artist perspective in terms of marketing and places that this is, you know, played at, or where people they're putting it out where people will listen to it, I think it could be a really good thing for me. Like, I didn't think it was a bad thing, and I was a little annoyed by seeing so many people talk about the way in which the devil is trying to take us away from God. And I'm like, honestly, if listening to this song takes us away from God, then like, I don't think we were ever truly with him, because this is not like what's happening.
Yeah. And I think the people really made a big deal out of something that wasn't, with them saying, oh, how Nicki, I was just like, is it that serious, people?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't, my thing was, okay, if you don't like it, don't listen. Shut up. Like, it really is that. Like, I don't feel like just creating a song together shows some big plot scheme to, you know, bring all the Christian listeners of Tasha Cobbs over to the Nicki Minaj devil. Like, I don't get that from that song. Like, you know what I'm saying? I ain't a part of these things, so I don't know if maybe they are, plotting and being like, you know what, let's convert people to the devil. Like, maybe that somebody on some planet is trying to do that, but that's not what I got from that song, yo. I don't think that's what they were trying to do. I actually think that they were trying to just really shake up culture. And I think that, in a way, I guess because so many people were talking about it, I guess they achieved their goal.
Yeah, true. You know who else people was talking about this week? Joel Osteen.
Poor Joel Osteen.
He was all over the news, and it was crazy because it was like, man, I felt like they just like center all their energy on him. Oh, and it's a lot of mega churches in Houston. I'm not necessarily a big fan of Joel Osteen's preaching for reasons that I don't even feel like going over right now. But
is it because he talks about Jesus and he's so happy about the way that God is gonna, and I want you to know today that I woke up this morning and I put on my slippers and I said, thank you, Jesus. Joel Osteen and this Bed-Stuy Baptist ministry, that I like him. He be so happy all the time. It's just be like, dang, bro.
Start off with a joke.
Yeah, let me start off with my joke.
And then he goes to, yeah, so but
I'm sorry, I just had thoughts about like listen to him and be like, man, you're just really happy. Did you? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Explain what happened. Go ahead. A minute.
People were, saying that his church should be open for shelter like day one and like just going in. And my thought was, first of all, it is a mega church. They have volunteers. But if Houston is underwater, like think about the volunteers might not be able to get there. You know what I'm saying? Like there's the expectation that people are supposed to be Johnny on the spot. But my thoughts at first were, okay, maybe trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. Right. There are tons of churches in Houston. Are they underwater? Can he even get there? Like our roads, and it's a big the church is huge. Do they have the insurance to carry these people? Are they certified as a shelter? Like you can't just open your doors and let a whole bunch of people come in. That's a liability for you as a church and a nonprofit. Like I just don't think people consider all those things. So I don't pretend to know what's in Joel's heart. I like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but on this, I'm kind of more prone to give him a break.
Absolutely. I was going to say, for me, that was the thing. Like, I don't know. I think if you think about housing people in general, just think about what it takes to run a church, right? Even a small church, you got to have, there's a pastor, you got to have certain people on staffs, you have an usher, a board, or just one person, and you have people that play particular roles to make sure that everything's okay in a normal functioning church. So imagine that in a relief effort where you have people that are displaced, you have people that are wet, cold, hungry, need food, may need some medical attention, may be distraught, emotionally distraught, trying to find their families, just kind of irate because they're alone or they lost so much stuff. Like there's a lot that goes into that. To just say that, oh, well, he just would refuse to allow his church to be a shelter because he didn't open his doors because he said it was flooding. I follow, one of the guys that went to undergrad with me, he works in Houston. I think he works for one of the news stations, the local news stations. And he actually mentioned that, hey, like we received photos saying that like water started to rise in that area. So they likely didn't open it because they thought it was going to be worse than what it actually was. Like apparently it didn't turn out to be horrible, but there was some water there. So it's like initially it makes sense that they don't want to open this space up to people because it's like there's already water. But on top of that, I'm thinking logistics. If you just think about the logistics that have to go into somebody providing shelter, it's not like you just let people come into this building because they can get out of the water. Like what happens when these people are in this building? What's the exit plan? Like, how do you take care of them? Where do they sleep? How long are they possibly going to be here? If you haven't prepared your facility to be able to do that, then it's kind of like, yo, shut up. And I feel like it's interesting too, because people go in, like people are really going in and talk about how horrible he is. But it's like, yo, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, stop, literally. And I'm going to save some of it because I want to get into my roast, but it's like, what are you specifically doing to like support that? Like, you going in on this man about his church, but how do you know what his church is doing or what he plans to do? And you don't know everything that's going in it. Like, if he didn't let people into the church and they had a ready-made facility, or maybe there were so many people displaced in that area and they were saying like, hey, just open the door so that we can get into a dry space. And he said no. Is that messed up? Yeah. But honestly, if he was like, I said no on the premises of, I don't want to be responsible for these people. Let's say somebody comes in here and dies, or somebody comes here and we don't have the resources to care for them in the way that we should. Then it becomes Joel Osteen doesn't take care of the people and kills them. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's not like folks are going in on him, and it's easy to do. But if you don't truly know the details, and even just considering it, because we don't know the details, right? We're not there. So we don't know what he could or couldn't have done, or, you know, even if he was justified. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you just stop for a moment and think about all that goes into that type of setup, you start thinking, oh, well, I think that I can apply just a little personal knowledge in here and see, maybe I can see how it wasn't just him saying no. Like, maybe he said no with a purpose or a reason. But I think people just end up thinking that, you know, because somebody has money, because he has a lot of money, and, you know, he's just always happy. They just thought that he could talk to Jesus and Jesus could just sprinkle security on his church. Like, I don't know. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, man, give this man a break. Just and to me, the people in Houston that were like going through flooding and angry, I was like, man, I wouldn't even been focused on that. I've been trying to survive. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I wouldn't even been trying to find somebody to blame at this point, because it's so much going on. Like, I wouldn't even been thinking about Joel Osteen, honestly.
And this was, even for like people that were there and experienced, I'm like, well, maybe they got like a firsthand account of saying no. Maybe they were there. And like I was saying, maybe they were like, hey, let us in to get like a dry spot. And they said no. I can potentially, like, I could see that type of person being upset, because it's like, yo, where else do I have to go? I had to walk longer for like more time with a kid or with my kid. I saw the video that people were circulating around with the one dude, and he was walking with his son, and he kept saying, thank God, thank God. He was just thankful to God, although like they lost everything, but they still had their lives, and he had his son. But I started thinking about it like, dang, because they were like, where are you going? And it's like, well, I don't know where to go. And I was like, that is kind of messed up. Like, I can't imagine, you know, being in that situation where it's kind of like I'm walking aimlessly until I find something, but I don't know what I'm going to find. I don't know what's there. And I have my kid. More so if it was just like me, maybe I probably wouldn't feel that way, but it's like I got my kid too. So maybe I can see them people being angry, but I feel like people that weren't in that situation, that just kind of read a headline, which is another thing that I feel like people have to stop doing, is reading headlines and basing their understanding of the article or the video or whatever it is based off a headline. We got to stop doing that, because this is the same issue that I had with people, with the Master P and the Kevin Hart thing. Like, Kevin Hart came up with a challenge. He challenged celebrities or other people to give, I think he was like $25,000 or something like that. And so he made a challenge for people to give. I'm assuming TMZ asked Master P, or maybe Master P made a video. It looked like he just made a video and sent it out. Some kind of way they obtained a video of Master P saying, you know, what I got from it was that he was saying, hey, Kevin Hart, like, he didn't have to do that. Like, thanks for your contribution, but you didn't have to actually do that, because there's so many people that are already giving. People were going to give anyway. And not saying that, like, no, you shouldn't put together a challenge, but it's saying, like, you don't have to feel like you have to put pressure on people in order for people to give, because people,
the obligation factor.
Exactly, because people were already doing it. And he was saying, like, you know, this community the Houston community, this Louisiana community, just the black community, people in the country in general, people are already giving money. So don't feel like you got to pressure somebody into doing it. And maybe he didn't understand what Kevin Hart is doing. I don't think he was going in on Kevin Hart, but the headlines, which people are making for clickbait, said Master P calls out Kevin Hart. So then you have a whole bunch of people that saying Master P trying to be relevant, he hating on him. It's like, no, if you watch the video, and it actually starts from a place of him just explaining it. So context clues really makes you think like, oh, well, this is probably what he was saying before then, just kind of how the video starts. But it's like, you can really get a sense that he not saying Kevin Hart is bad. He not saying, oh, he shouldn't do that, we don't want his money. Like, because that's what the headline makes it sound. He's not saying that. He literally is just saying, yo, you don't have to pressure. Don't feel the need to pressure folks because they gonna give anyway. Like, they're already giving. Like, and I don't think, I'm like, yo, people, I don't think we're watching headlines, we're reading headlines, and we're basing our whole understanding on the situation just on a headline. And that's a problem, because we actually look stupid when we actually make posts about it and we haven't truly read what was said or listened to what was said. And if you make an incorrect assumption based off of listening to maybe like a soundbite or a clip, that's one thing, because it's like, well, my thoughts and opinions was rooted in what I had. But when it's like you didn't even consume that and you just read somebody's created headline, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and I think that's important for us to remember. Like, we can't base our whole understanding off of something off of a headline, and it's so easy to do because we're consuming so much information on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and we have to remember that these companies want to bait us. And so they're doing that because it's advertisement driven. So they need people to click. So they're going to put the most catchy headline on there. So you need to read the full story. You need to watch the video. You need to research, and don't just get all upset over something that really sometimes didn't happen at all.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also, no, I was going to say one thing to add to that too is make sure that, so a lot of the things that we consume today are opinion based. It's a lot. We're getting other people's opinions, and I'm not a person that thinks that it's so horrible because, nothing is just, we don't know true facts because everything is swayed. Like, truth be told, we come into our own based on somebody's opinion. Our parents raise us based on their opinion, like what they think is right or wrong, for the most part. And we in turn follow that. So it's not that, today's time or our generation, we're doing something so horrible. It's like, we just have a lot more access to folks' opinions than we've ever had before. And so it's like, it makes, like, you're not horrible. I'm not saying that you're horrible for doing that, but make sure that you can decipher, this is this writer's or this interviewer's or this person's opinion about this topic. Let me be able to decipher what did they say was actual factual. What did they say was their opinion? How do I feel about this? Based on it, like, do some own, some own deducing based on what you have, and be able to say, I know an opinion when I read it or I hear it, and I know what's factual. And then I can, base my thoughts on that, as opposed to just being like, well, this is what Lisa said, and so I know it's concrete. And then 2 weeks later, Lisa be like, oh, well, now I feel this way because I got introduced to this facts and that facts. And then you mad at Lisa. Well, she changed her mind. She flip-flopping. No, she just actually got a little bit more knowledge. That's what we should all be trying to do. That's it. That's absolutely it.
We definitely have to develop that understanding, because it's so hard to forget that we're consuming, like, we're in the age of consuming art pieces all the time. Everything that most of the stuff that you see in the articles on your timeline are art pieces. So we have to really keep that in mind and not take them as fact all the time, because, like, this is an opinion piece. So
right.
yeah, I think that's so important. So y'all tell us what y'all think about our OJs and mimosas this week. What do you think about Hurricane Harvey and Joel Osteen? We are definitely in prayer for everyone who's been affected in South Texas and Louisiana. And so we definitely you are in our thoughts and our prayers. Tell us what you think about Tasha Cobbs and Nicki Minaj. You getting ready for your overflow or your next? Tell us what you think. You know, I'm getting ready for tomorrow, whatever that may bring. I'm down. So we'll be back. #ChatBC. We'll be back with our main dish.
All right, and we are back, and it is time for our main dish. So this week, in light, I feel like it falls in line. We've talked about this before, so we kind of wanted to discuss this on the show before, but I feel like it falls in line with what just happened with the fight that happened this past weekend, with the Mayweather and McGregor fight, and people just talking about how cocky Floyd Mayweather is. Like, you know, he went into a pseudo retirement, came out of pseudo retirement to actually fight McGregor, and there was so much, you know, so many people have always said, and it's like, oh, he's too cocky, he needs to be more humble, he's so bad. And so it just got us to talking and thinking about this idea of successful people and their cockiness, and what is that a thing? Like, I mean, is that a thing that should be, like, people that are successful in whatever field that you're in? Sometimes as successful people, we have a tendency to be extremely cocky in ourselves, and, you know, we gloat about what we have or what we can do, and, you know, what we received and all this other stuff. And so it's like, the question is there a place for that? Is that a thing that should be, or, you know, should people that are successful not be that cocky? Should they be less cocky? So what do you think?
I feel like, you know, we have to, define the terms of what is cocky, what is confidence, and what is I guess the extreme form of those things. Because I think we all have a certain amount of cockiness, or people sometimes use cockiness and confidence interchangeably. And so based on that person, you'll never get to know, I think, what's cocky and what's confident, because I know a lot of people who will say something is cocky and I've even done it, but are the kings and queens of the humble brag. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they're not boisterous. They're not your Mayweathers, but they'll be like, yeah, you know, I just donated some stuff to the shelter, you know.
Right.
But it wasn't nothing. Because, you know, I just try to do what I can and get back.
Right.
And they'll just walk off. But they could be more cocky than your Mayweathers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's more of a heart issue for me. But I think the tendency for people is to see boisterous confidence or cockiness and think that to me, cockiness is really you thinking other people are less than. So you're building yourself up and saying, I'm up here and everybody's down there. I think confidence is I'm secure in my abilities and what the talents that I believe God's given me, but I don't think I'm better than anybody else.
Right.
I think those are the distinguishing factors. And so there's some people who are not boisterous that are some of the most cocky people in the world because they look down on everybody else.
Right.
But they're not going to be in getting their head, laying down, letting somebody massage their head before a fight. They're not going to be letting people bathe them. You know what I'm saying? Because they be like, I'm not that. But they are, you know, taking a picture of them giving out food at the shelter. You know, they are doing these side things and mentioning subtly what they've done to people as a way to boast themselves above other people. So I think that's, for me, what the distinction is.
Right.
Because I think young professionals. We're the kings and queens of the humble brag.
Yeah, I definitely 100% agree with that. I think it is important to to differentiate between cockiness and confidence. I think it's extremely easy to get the two confused. And I also think that, honestly, personally, people kind of define them in the moment based on other things or other factors that they know about the person or the individual. Like, somebody may be being confident, but because I also know a history of you, or I'm connected to you, I've been following you for a while, so I know that this is not one moment that you're just being confident in, that you do this all the time. It's kind of like overkill, and I might perceive that to be cocky, if you will. And so I think it also just kind of the way that we define those for other people, or our perceptions of other people, is kind of based also on what we know about them. But what's interesting is when it comes to cocky, so I just actually pulled up the dictionary.com definition of what cocky is. So cocky is, it says the definition is arrogant, pertly self-asserted, or conceited. And I also looked up the definition of arrogant just to kind of give more context to that, because it's always interesting to me when like they define one word with another word, and it's like, so what does that word mean? And so then the definition for arrogant is making claims or pretensions to superior importance or rights, overbearingly assuming. Basically, it's just kind of like thinking that, I'm just superior than everybody. Similar to what you said. Like, I think that I'm better than everybody. I think that, my ability to do this or what I'm doing, ain't nobody like me. In the past, maybe 2 months, my perception of cockiness has changed. I used to think that cocky was bad. I thought like, you got to be more humble. You got to acknowledge the people that helped you get there. You got to acknowledge the time that it took you to get to this place. You got to acknowledge this is a talent that was given to you by God. I'm a believer in God. So I think like, hey, no matter how great I am at something, for me, like when you acknowledge or applaud me, give me kudos, I got to give kudos to my creator that gave this to me. And like, that's my approach. But I kind of always thought like it was bad, but I start thinking about, Mayweather or Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali or, these guys where it's in their career, they have to be cocky. Like how entertaining would Mayweather be if he walked around saying, well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm the greatest. I think I am, but it ain't really about me. It's just about whatever. I don't necessarily know if that would be as entertaining. And it's like, for him to be number one, he honestly kind of has to do that. And so for me, I stopped thinking like, you know what? I don't think that cockiness per se is bad, depending on how it's used. Almost with anything, just like with anything else, if this is used in such a way that it puts you on a platform that's necessary for your industry, but it puts you on a platform where you can do something positive, or it kind of gets you in a certain light, I think that it's acceptable. It's not bad. I think in terms of, we're talking about Floyd Mayweather, but talking about just in terms of like the average day-to-day young professional millennial, I feel like we could probably adopt a little cockiness in ourselves and find it to be beneficial. So one of the things that for me I start thinking about is, so when I go to work and I've been applauded, rewarded, and gotten kudos for all of these things that I've done and been great at professionally, right? And oftentimes when I'm celebrated for it, my knee-jerk reaction is just kind of to be like, hey, thank you, but it's really not about me. Like, it's about the team, or it's about somebody else. And actually one of my colleagues kind of was like, you always deflect your success to other people. And I'm like, huh? And she's like, yeah, like this is a moment where you've done something that's really pushed our team forward. That's really, helped the office in its entirety out. Like, you've really done something, and you should be able to celebrate it. And nobody else did what you did. I think it's a moment for you to know, or to acknowledge, or to accept that it's you that's there. And I'm like, oh, I always want to be. Humility is important to me, and so I never want to be like overly like, oh yeah, y'all not gonna make it without me, because I'm like, I mean, there's somebody else. There's always somebody that's smarter, that's, you know, that's greater. The only thing that I say is nobody's going to outwork me, because I have control over that. But it's like, yo, somebody else might be all these other things. But I start thinking, maybe if I was a little bit more cocky about my ability, it's okay. Like, it's not a bad thing. Like, I'm asserting myself to say, yo, I can do this. And I know that. And I'm not, it's almost like hearing that belief in my own work ethic, just kind of allowing that to reign a little bit more, because like you said, I feel like in other ways I have, you know, been the king of the humble brag. Like, I might run down my resume a little bit for you so you know who you dealing with, but then I'll end it with like, but you know, that's not like, you know, it's so many other things that got me to that place. And it's like, well, why not just be a little honest about it and be like, yo, I can do this. I will do this. I have done this. Here's where I am. And allow that to like lead me in some cases, not all, because I feel like in all cases or all the time to me would be a little overkill. But I feel like maybe if I turn that little humble brag on his head and allow it to be a little bit more cocky, like I can say, yo, I appreciate this reward because I know that I did that. And I think that's useful, because there are times when I look back on certain situations and it's kind of like, oh, I don't think I really realized the weight of that. I don't think I realized how good this was, or how big of a deal this was, because I was so kind of into being humble that, you know, I didn't give it as much. I didn't take it in as much as I should have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so hard. I mean, as far as like humble bragging, because we live in a culture where it's like when people put out their accomplishments, sometimes in our insecurities, and I know I've done it, you want to like match them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, you checked me. Okay. So I got to tell you what I'm doing, especially if you're like always in networking positions,
right,
like in settings where it's kind of like, so what do you do? And people expect you to give your credentials, but then they say what they do, and then it's like, well, I didn't go in enough on what I did because I just gave them like a little synopsis.
Right, right.
They just gave me a long laundry list.
Right,
So
right.
now in this moment, I feel very insecure about what I'm doing. So I gotta like give you some more of my.
Now I gotta run you the numbers, right?
Yeah.
I gotta really run these numbers on you.
And I mean, I've done it before, but it's like, it's my own personal insecurity.
Right.
And so it's like, now I gotta like, so do I need to turn it up a notch so I feel like I'm on your level? Because you just made me feel like I was less than. And it's kind of like you need that confidence so you won't have to use that false humility. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
you need
right.
a level of confidence, and your identity has to be set where you're secure, where I'm secure in my own things, in order not to feel like I have to deflect to my accomplishments, where I could give somebody, where I can hear somebody tell me everything they're doing and I don't need to run my list.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I
good.
think that's a process of maturity that I know I have to work towards. I don't have to feel like, even if I said what I did first and I didn't give you everything I did, or even if I'm nowhere near what you're doing, I don't feel like I have to come back. I could just say, hey, that's good, man. Or, you know, that's good. Girl, I'm good. Like, you know.
Kudos to you. Yeah.
And not walk away feeling less than.
Right. That's really good, because I do think too, and maybe like considering that element, or considering like potentially the lack of self confidence in what you're doing, if you will, maybe that then the quote unquote cockiness won't be needed, right? And then you can just end and let confidence be the end all be all. Because for me, that's why thinking about cockiness kind of, and saying that, oh, it's not like a bad thing. And to me, it was like, yo, I actually think that this is necessary. Sometimes I think people, maybe if people, or even myself, I always look at myself, maybe if I was a bit more cocky about my ability and professionally, maybe that would lead me to walk into a situation automatically knowing and feeling that I can do this, like I can do this. I know that this is going to be successful. I look at, you know, even my current role, my professional job, like I've done a lot in a little bit of time, but I've entered into each of those situations, honestly, without like a lot of belief that I was going to see it to the end. I was going to make it to the end. I remember one project that I was working on starting last year, and I wrapped it up at the beginning of this year. It was literally hell on earth for a while. And a lot of that came from, I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I've never done this before. And I would always be cognizant of that. And so I started thinking, if I was a bit more cocky in myself and my ability, then I wouldn't have spent so much time kind of with anxiety of if this is going to happen or if I'm going to be successful at this. I would just be able to walk through it. But considering what you just said, it's like, no, wait, maybe it's not. Maybe the answer isn't cockiness. Maybe the answer is like belief in yourself, like security in what you can do. And then that breeds confidence. So I'm walking into this thing saying that I know that I can do this. I know my ability is X, Y, and Z. I ain't knocking on your ability. I ain't saying that I'm better than you, because I don't have to say that I'm better than you, because I am who I am, and I'm going to be able to do. I have the talents and the knowledge that I have, and I know how to utilize those things to get me to an end goal. And I feel like maybe that is truly the answer, as opposed to just kind of being like, folks need to be more cocky. I do agree that in arenas like, you know, wrestling or boxing or things where it's like there's a sport, but it's entertainment as well. People like to see cocky people. People love to hate them. You have some people that just love them because it makes them believe in themselves. And you have people that hate them that'll just be like, oh, you need to fall because you need to be humble. But anyway, it makes more sense in that space. But I feel like for, you know, the average person, even in a professional setting, I mean, I don't know how far cockiness, saying like kind of almost putting people down, even if you say you're better than people, because I feel like, I mean, you think about, you're going for a job interview, like, I'm saying I'm better because I want you to hire me. Like, obviously I feel like I'm the best candidate because, you know, I want to get the job done, or I feel like the product or service that I'm providing or I'm selling in my business is better because I want you to buy it. Like, I feel like, you know, cockiness in that sense is okay. I don't know. Now I'm talking, but I'm trying to think through the two of them, because I'm like, is cockiness bad then? Like, is this a bad thing? Because there are ways and spaces of which obviously that I think like, nah, this is a good thing. This works. I
think it's your motive behind it. Like, okay. I think it's your motivation. Like, if you're doing it for, you know, if you're doing it because you want to make people feel less than, or you're doing it because you have an insecurity that has to be fed in order to interact with people, like you have to boost yourself up in order to deal with people because you want to be the best in the room. I think that's when the motivation, I feel like, is negative. But if you're doing it like for a job interview, or because this is what you need to do for your, you know, career as far as boxing or things of that nature, I don't see a problem with it. But if you're doing it to make yourself feel better than everybody else because you need that satisfaction, I think that's where the problem comes in.
That I can definitely agree with that. That makes a lot more sense, and I think I can definitely follow that, because I feel like in ways, as I think about the ways in which I've thought, you know, oh, this person is so cocky, it usually is the motive behind it, and like their motive is to tear somebody else down, or their motive is to try to cover up an insecurity that they have, or not even not acknowledge it personally. Like, they won't acknowledge that, yo, so I have this one person, this family member that used to be fat, right? And when they lost weight, and they started working out, then everything that fat people did was just like wrong. Oh, this person's so fat, they need to lose weight. Oh, this person need to do this, they so fat. Oh, this person's so fat. And it was like, hey, wait, like, you know, 3 missed cheeseburgers ago, you was on the same level that they were on. Like, y'all were doing the same thing. So it's kind of like, in that sense, it's like, yo, you're overly cocky, but you kind of should be a bit more humble because you understand where they're coming from. Now, you've changed, so you're not in that same space. So kudos to you for that. However, you used to be like, you was a tubby too, like, and you were happy. And you, up until a certain point, didn't see the need to revert back. I mean, or to do something different or to change because you were happy with yourself. Or you appeared to be happy with yourself. Even if it was that you were in the dark or you just weren't happy. That's your story and your journey. Everybody doesn't have that. So I definitely can see that. I definitely can see that it's the motives behind your cockiness, if you will, and the way in which it's used that becomes good or bad. But I think kind of as like a wrap up, one of the things that I think that this kind of alludes to is just kind of like you just personally gauging where we are, like where we are in terms of our own self-confidence and what that looks like. And if somebody else is overly confident or somebody else runs down their resume of accomplishments and achievements, where we feel with that, like, does that make us feel a certain way? Does that make us feel like we need to do more in terms of like feeling inadequate, or just like, oh, that just inspired me to work a little harder in the space that I'm in? I think that's what we should, that's what I hope that kind of comes out of this conversation. Cause just me thinking about it and just kind of us talking about it before, that's what it made me think about. It made me think like, you know what, I can use this cockiness to kind of be a little easier on myself because I should be in this space. But then I started thinking from this conversation like, oh, well, you know what? I think maybe there's an insecurity, a personal insecurity in myself that is really driving this. And so that insecurity is, I'm telling myself I need to be cocky, but what I truly need to be is more confident. And
using that as fuel, like for motivation to get to that next level.
Right.
Or do an evaluation to see what level they're really on. Because a lot of people tell you stuff and present information and they'll have you trying to achieve something that they're not actually there. But that's a whole nother, it's a whole other conversation, right? So, but you have to be secure yourself to know like this is authentic success based on where I was and where I am now, and give yourself space to grow. Because one of my friends told me a while ago, he was like, what you don't want is major success to happen too fast, because you're only, that time I was like 28. You're 28, you still got the rest of your life. Not saying you're going to live forever, but say you have a long life, you don't want to peak at 28. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So give yourself space to grow and develop and to get a steady rise, not a peak and then just decline.
Yeah.
With life.
One thing that I'm just going to say just to that, because I've thought about that in terms of like, you don't want to peak too early. I don't think it's the problem of peaking too early. I think it's what happens after, is what that success does to you afterwards that makes it problematic. When you become successful, and you know this, once you become successful or you reach a certain plateau or level of success, you get comfortable. Mm-hmm. And you get comfortable, and so you're not grinding as hard as you used to. You're not staying on top of yourself as hard as you used to be. You don't have to put yourself in a mode to do that. I think about, working hard to get my first degree. I literally did not go out. I didn't party. I didn't club. I didn't drink. I wouldn't do anything. I mean, like a movie was something that it had to be something I really, really wanted to see in order to do it, because to me it was like, I got to do this. 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 And then turning around now and putting myself back into the mode of studying, it's challenging, not because I'm any less or anything like that, but it's just kind of like, yo, my life is in a different space where I'm comfortable. Like, I'm not trying to, it's not like do or die. Like, I don't know what's going on. It's kind of like, yo, my life is good where it's at. Like, I'm on a good career path and a career trajectory. If I did nothing else, I feel like I could possibly at this point, have a pretty decent life. Like, just where I'm going. Like, and it makes me start to see why people get into certain spaces and they stay there forever and they just coast because they get comfortable. So I think that's really the problem that comes with that. It's like, yo, if you, you obtain a a huge amount of success when you're very young, it's not bad, but it's like that success honestly puts you kind of like, it sits you down, makes you it puts you back on the couch of comfort, and you don't really think outside of the box or challenge yourself to do something else. I feel like that's really what the problem is. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say that because I was thinking about it and I was like, well, I think that there have been people that have like peaked early and that still have been able to maintain, you know, whatever level of success. And it's like, no, it's not that. Because you think about I hate making this comparison, but looking at like Jay-Z and Beyonce, both of them were very, maybe not so much Jay-Z, but Beyonce was successful early on in her life and her career. And here she is 20 years later and still is having these peaks. But I think it's because even with that, she didn't lose like the amount of hunger that she had and the amount of work that she put into it. It was still like, all right, I'm still going for this as if I was just trying to get on.
And she has an evolution. Because one of the things you'll see with some people that are stuck, they're trying to be successful with who they were and not allowing themselves to evolve. Or it could be people don't allow them to evolve, because I think about Bow Wow and he's tried to evolve.
Poor Bow Wow.
You know, try to change his name, but people only see him as little Bow Wow, so maybe he has to get more creative. We don't believe.
After all of that, we don't believe.
So yeah, let us know what y'all think about cockiness, confidence, and success. Do you agree with our assessments? Do you think we're totally off basis? And you think cocky? There's no room for cockiness at all, no matter what circumstance. Let us know. #ChatBC, and we'll be back with our toast or roast.
All right, we're back, and it is time for our toast or roast. I'm going to dive right into this roast. This week, I am going to roast just people on the internet, man, and people in general that feel the need to go in on celebrities, on, you know, big name artists because they are not giving to a cause, or people that's sitting around and saying, oh, well, what's this person doing? And this person ain't gave no money, and why this person doing this? And it's a bit annoying because in times of like a major disaster like Hurricane Harvey and the floods and the things that are happening in Houston, honestly, truthfully, we don't need another reason for people to try to be mad at somebody. And the responsibility for those efforts don't fall on just one individual or one group of individuals. That's why we have cities and municipalities have disaster relief funds and reserve funds that they can use in cases of emergencies. That's why you have big organizations, disaster relief organizations that help out. That's usually why a lot of people have foundations as well. And to other people just have, you know, money set to aside to help out with that. But it's no one person's responsibility to do that. And it's extremely frustrating to see people that do that, because these same people that make these comments about what folks aren't doing, the people with all this money, they not posting, you know, how much money has Beyonce given? How much money is Jay-Z gonna give? How much money is this person from Houston, LaToya Luckett, gonna give? How much money is like all of these people? This is their hometown. They should be given the most amount of money. Like, how do you count somebody's pockets, yo? Like, who are you to tell somebody what they should or should not be doing? Somebody not giving money to a cause doesn't mean that they don't care about these people. Maybe they literally are just strapped for money in this time, or they just donated millions of dollars to somebody else and they're not liquid enough to give to in this moment. Like, maybe they're going to help by being one of those people that comes and shows to organize, or they're using their platform to promote some other organization that is collecting funds. Like, you don't know what people are doing, and really stop. Like, it's stupid. Like, you sound real dumb saying or complaining about somebody not giving money to something. Like, yo, chill out with that. And one other thing too, that's really, really interesting, because we didn't talk about this, and I just gotta say, yo, President Obama was not the president during Hurricane Katrina. Stop it. It's dumb. Stop arguing that if he still wouldn't have done nothing. He didn't. Like, shut up, yo. You're dumb. There were disasters that happened during the Obama administration. He showed up. He spoke out about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? To the best of his ability, he did it. Really, Trump not showing up or Trump not doing something does not... We can't compare that to President Obama and say like, oh, well, you know, he's doing way more because President Obama didn't do this when Hurricane Katrina. Like, you stupid, yo. Like, he wasn't a president. Like, shut up. Like, and Google, we say this all the time on this show, but we got our good friend Google. Like, it has all of this information. You can literally just Google President Obama and see when he was president and be like, Hurricane Katrina, and see when it happened, be like, oh, those two don't coincide. Exactly. So I'm roasting y'all this week. Like, people, stop trying to count folks' money. Stop telling people where they should put their resources. And also, just Google it. Just let it go.
Well, I want to toast to today to all of the people who are sacrificing their lives to rescue others. Like, we have seen so much heroism in what's going on because of Harvey. People have been putting it all on the line, trying to rescue people, getting their boats and taking their boats, sending money and supplies. Whatever you're doing, we want to shout out to you. People who are putting, like Randall said, they're not critiquing, they're just out here doing the work. I want to toast to you, because I think what you're doing is so, so vital. And it really, in these desperate situations, and I know law enforcement is doing it, but just to see regular people just saying, hey, I could be in the shelter, but I'm going to go out and help. That's amazing. And I think that is so, so great. So shout out to y'all. Toast to y'all.
All right. And that is going to, we got a good vibe this week. Lord, I'm forgetting the good vibe. Sorry.
Yeah.
So this week's good vibe is immature people ask life to meet their demands. Mature people meet the demands of life. And that is by Henry Cloud. I mean, yeah, it definitely speaks for itself. Like, don't be one of those people that's sitting around saying, well, this person ain't do this for me, and I ain't get this, and I ain't get this opportunity to do this, and I ain't do this, and I ain't do this, and I ain't do this. Like, what did you do to make it happen? And when you're talking about somebody about missed opportunity or about something that didn't come through, say like, hey, I did this, I put forth this effort, it didn't work out, so I shift gears and I did something else. Like, that's what we should be talking about. So shout out to Henry Cloud for that. Make sure that y'all consider that this week, share it with somebody, change somebody's week with that. And that's going to wrap up another episode of Brunch Culture. As always, we thank you guys so much for listening to us, for rocking with us. We love you and we appreciate you. Make sure that you stay up with us on our website at www.brunchculturebc.com. We're also on Twitter at Brunch Culture and on Instagram at Brunch_culture. And I think Lisa has something that's going to be going on that she is probably not, she's being extremely humble, and so she doesn't want to mention. But Lisa, go ahead on and share your news.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you. So my organization, the G3 Project, has partnered with the National Baptist Convention to promote the hashtag Free to Ask, and that's the number 2, Free to Ask, because we noticed that a lot of Black millennials were leaving the church because they didn't feel the freedom to ask questions about spirituality, about science, about scripture. Like, you know, you have critical questions like, okay, did God really flood the earth? Was there really two of every animal that fit in the ark? Like, you know, about just
legit questions. Yeah. Legit questions.
And these are very important questions we should be asking. And sometimes when you ask people in the church, they don't give you the freedom, or they say you can't question
God. They don't question God. That's what the Bible said, so you don't ask questions about it. Meanwhile, you have a whole career where somebody is paying you handsomely to use your brain and to question stuff that seem like, even it's been the standard for years, and they be like, oh, question it so you can change it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So we want to give you freedom to ask those questions. We will have moderators to help answer some of the questions. We won't be able to answer all of them because we hoping for a flood. We would like it to go viral so that it would be impossible to answer every single question. But we want to give people this to create kind of a pool for leaders to see, like, people have questions and they need to be answered. So just hashtag, that's Wednesday, September 6th. Use the hashtag all day free to ask. I'm excited about it, and I want to give people the freedom to ask because I think that's so important to validate the fact that these questions are important and they need answers.
All right. Sounds good. So y'all make sure that you guys are engaging on Wednesday, September 6th with that. And again, we'll put out some just reminders for you guys on our social media so you can check it out there. And as always, remember here at Brunch Culture, everything is up for discussion.